if you see it, I mean. So anyway, enough about the gum. I am going to be reading random facts today about history. Now, don't go anywhere. Don't leave. Because these are fun. I promise you, these are fun history facts. So if you're one of those people who did not enjoy history class or social studies, don't worry, stick around, please. Okay, so I'm gonna read them off of my iPad. Let me just get it open to where it needs to be. Put in my code 1, 2, 3, 4. And now you all know my secret. Okay, let me get to site. Okay, so this is Best Life. Okay. bestlifeonline.com, and it is called 50 Amazing Historical Facts You Never Knew. We're not doing all 50. So I might be skipping the ones that don't look as fun as some others. Okay. Number 1. Turkeys were once worshipped like gods. Did you know that? While the turkey is currently America's favorite part of Thanksgiving, in 300 BC, these big birds were heralded by the Mayan people as vessels of the gods. They were domesticated to have roles in religious rites. Okay. Interesting. A little interesting. It's gonna get better. Okay. Trust me. Like this one. We have been fooled for a long time here. Paul Revere never actually shouted, "The British are coming." Now that's embarrassing. Because coincidentally, on the 4th of July, there were these huge, like, booms in my neighborhood. And they sounded just like cannons. And I was joking around with my son, and I was like, "The British are coming. You hear their cannons." And he is very into history. So I said to him, "Who was it that said that? The British are coming?" And he said Paul Revere. And I was like, "Oh yeah. Well, apparently he never did." So he was said to have warned colonial militia of the approaching enemy by yelling, "The British are coming." Okay, this is false. The operation was meant to be quiet and stealthy, since British troops were hiding out in the Massachusetts countryside. Also, colonial Americans still considered themselves to be British. So who made up that lie? And why did they do that? Okay. Napoleon was once attacked by a horde of bunnies. Wow. Can you imagine being attacked by a bunch of bunnies? That's a secret that we don't know because he didn't want anyone to know that. So, he was attacked by bunnies. He had requested that a rabbit hunt be arranged for himself and his men. They rounded up 3,000 rabbits. prohibition laws. Is that insane or what? Wow. Okay. Using forks used to be seen as sacrilegious. What the fork? That's what it says. They were first introduced in Italy in the 11th century. They were seen as an offense to God because they were artificial hands, quote unquote, and as such was considered to be sacrilegious. Okay. Okay, I think I've heard this one. The Titanic's owners never said the ship was unsinkable, despite what the iconic film said. The owners never said that it could never sink. Historian Richard Howells said that the population as a whole was unlikely to have thought of the Titanic as a unique, unsinkable ship before its maiden voyage. What? Alright, so they never said that. Okay. I do remember that from the movie, though. Didn't the guy say, like, she's made of iron, she can't sink, something like that? There were more than 600 plots to kill Fidel Castro. Wow, that's a lot. Tactics included everything from an exploding cigar to a poisoned diving suit. Mary actually had a little lamb. Everyone knows the nursery rhyme, but it is based on a true story. Her name was Mary Sawyer. She was 11 years old and lived in Boston, and one day was followed to school by her pet lamb. In the late 1860s, she helped raise money for an old church by selling wool from the lamb. Okay, that's great. Now, did you know that Richard Nixon was a great musician? I didn't. He played 5 instruments. before the 16th president took office. He was declared a wrestling champion. He was 6'4". That's tall. Had only one loss among his around 300 contests. He earned a reputation for this in New Salem, Illinois, as an elite fighter. Eventually, he earned his county's wrestling championship. I would never have expected that. He looks just like a tall, lanky guy. Like, I wouldn't have thought he'd be a wrestler. Also about Abraham Lincoln, he was a licensed bartender. In 1833, he opened up a bar called Berry and Lincoln with his friend William F. Berry in New Salem, Illinois. The shop was closed when Berry, an alcoholic, consumed most of the shop's supply. Wow, that's something. Thomas Edison didn't invent the light bulb. I think I heard this somewhere. Let's see here. While he did have an astonishing 1,093 patents, the majority of these were not of his own invention. He stole most of them. While he did land the patent for the light bulb in 1880, the real inventor was actually Warren de la Rue, a British astronomer and chemist, who actually created the very first light bulb 40 years before Edison. Wow, I don't know, that's terrible. Let's see here. Cars weren't invented in the US. No, it wasn't Henry Ford's Model T in 1908. The first car was actually created in the 19th century when European engineer Carl Benz, I recognize that name, B-E-N-Z, and Emile Levasseur were working on automobile inventions. Benz patented the first automobile in 1886. I wonder if he is connected with Mercedes-Benz. Maybe not. George Washington opened a whiskey distillery after his presidency. That's interesting. So, being the first president wasn't enough for George Washington. After his term, he opened a whiskey distillery. By 1799, it was the largest in the country, producing 11,000 gallons of unaged whiskey. After he died, the business was no more. Oh boy. Well, did you know, switching hands now, that Ronald Reagan was a believer in astrology? I didn't know that. He was deeply interested in astrology. Him and Nancy were. And he was an Aquarius. But good to know, the cosmos never influenced any policy decisions, he reassured. Okay. Aw, this is one of my favorite myths, but it's not true. George Washington never had wooden teeth. He did have numerous dental problems and did use dentures. Wood was never used. I don't know how that came to be a myth. John Adams and Thomas Jefferson died on the same day. We've heard this before. On July 4th, 1826, they both died within 5 hours of each other. Weird, and then it was on the 4th of July. Very, very, very strange. just from holding the iPad. Cherries. They're like $5.99 a pound here. Like, I'm not buying them for that price. I mean, they're good, but you would think, oh, okay, $5.99, let me put some in a bag. Well, you're gonna put in way more than a pound, and it's gonna cost you like a lot of money for cherries. So yeah, that's just a side note. Okay, back to business. No way. Richard Nixon plotted to assassinate a journalist. What? He was a paranoid dude, and Richard Nixon wanted to kill Washington columnist Jack Anderson. His plot included ideas such as putting poison in Anderson's medicine cabinet or exposing the journalist to large amounts of LSD. Thankfully, the plot was abandoned. How come we never heard about that? Is it a crime to plot to kill somebody? Even if you don't do it? I mean, I don't know. I guess that's not a crime. But it sure doesn't sound like a good thing for a president to be doing. That's nuts. I didn't know he was like that. Andrew Jackson had a vulgar parrot. He taught his parrot, Polly, to curse like a sailor. There was even one legend that the parrot had to be taken out of Jackson's funeral for its proclivity for profanity. I wish I knew what he taught the parrot to say. Like, I'm really curious what would be considered, like profanity back then. Like, what exactly would be the, catchphrase of cursing in those days? The Bloody Mary wasn't always called a Bloody Mary. The popular brunch beverage didn't actually start off being called a Bloody Mary. Nope. It was actually called a bucket of blood. That sounds even worse. Appetizing, after a bucket of blood, it transitioned to Red Snapper, and finally Bloody Mary. I don't know. I don't like the word blood in anything that I'm drinking. Or they call it something else entirely. Like tomato juice cocktail. Or I'll have a tomato and vodka on the rocks. Okay. A woman was elected to Congress before women could vote. That's weird. Jeanette Rankin joined Congress in 1916, which was 4 years before women could actually vote. The 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote, wasn't passed until August 18th, 1920. Wow. That's so, is ironic the word, or I don't even know if that's the right word for it, but like how if women weren't even seen as like smart enough to vote, how did they elect a woman to Congress? That's very, very odd. Former U.S. President Bill Clinton lost the nuclear launch codes. So he lost the personal ID number needed to confirm nuclear launches for like months on end. Called this misstep a gargantuan deal. So that means that if for whatever reason he needed to launch nuclear weapons, he didn't have the code. Did somebody else have the code? Or was it just a lost cause? And how did he find the code, and what's the deal with that? was it really him who lost the code, or the people who work for him who were supposed to keep his office running smoothly? You know what I mean? Like the office workers. Who knows? The 1929 Wall Street crash did not cause a rash of people taking their lives. Okay, so on Black Tuesday, October 24th, 1929, the most shocking stock market crash occurred in U.S. history. It is widely believed that this financial crisis caused countless deaths by people taking their lives, but this is not the case. There were two. Maybe on that day. Maybe it took people a little time to realize that they were broke, though. I don't know. Well, I'm glad that not so many people did that. But that must have been just a horrible, horrible, horrible time. Basically, everything about Thanksgiving is a lie. I guess we knew that. You know what Happy Meal between Native Americans and the Pilgrims you know that Happy Meal between Native Americans and the Pilgrims where everyone bonded? Well, the real story of Thanksgiving is awful and actually consisted of plagues and violence and murder. Also, there's no evidence turkey was actually served or that Native people were invited to the meal. Oh, that's terrible. But we heard that before. And here's the last one I'm doing. Cowboys didn't actually wear cowboy hats. That's strange. Those big Stetsons that everyone associates with cowboys, like John Wayne, Billy the Kid, or Wyatt Earp, yeah. Cowboys didn't wear those. The hat of choice